just second rate to street parliamentaries to protest and lobbying.
Yeah.
What is, as a blogger and as a cyber activist, what is your feeling about that?
Well, I feel that in Brazil, we had internet came around the 90s, like in the end of the 90s, but it only really spread in 2000s, so it's recent. And what I've seen in Brazil is that cyber activism has grown in importance so much in the past like 5 or 6 years. I've been connected since I was a kid. Like I had the privilege to have access to internet in 97, 96 already. And blogs didn't exist by then. So I made my own websites with my ideas and opinions, and I connected to other people in chat rooms, so I found people with similar interests. And it was really hard. Like it was really hard to publish. It was really hard to be read. That's the most important thing. But now with the social networks, it's really easy to be read. It's easy to make yourself known to your audience. It's easy to create a blog and it's really easy to get into groups that can help you expand or your audience or access whatever. But what I feel is that most of people, they don't take it seriously. Like they think that cyber activism is just speaking to no one. They think that publishing on the internet is just speaking to no one, and that it doesn't really reach the important people it should reach, or doesn't make the change it should make. But I have to totally disagree with that, because what I feel in Brazil, people they have access to internet, really large access to internet, even poor people in Brazil. And what I see is that internet has become their main reference for many things. So when they want to know about something, they just go and Google it, or they just enter their favorite websites about the topic. And when we produce content about these topics with an alternative or feminist or progressive point of view, we are opposing the mass media traditional point of view. So what happened in Brazil that was amazing was, in the past elections, and the one that we elected Dilma as the president, and also the one before that a little bit, especially the one we elected Dilma, the weight of blogs has increased tremendously, because what happens is mass media in Brazil is there's like a permission from the government you need to create a mass media channel or whatever. And until now, these permissions have only been given to people who are friends with some certain conservative politicians, especially during the dictatorship in the 60s and 70s here. So the NGOs that work with communication in Brazil, they have this data that says that in Brazil, 90% of communication mass media means are in the hands of 9 families. 9 families. It's like too little. And what happened was, everybody else who's not from these 9 families and who do not share their point of view, they just started using the internet to promote other points of view about politics and about content. So the bloggers just grew so much, and they started to form bloggers associations. So we have like a progressist bloggers association, and we have a feminist bloggers association, which I'm part of, very proud. I helped to build it. And the thing is, these blogger groups, they're becoming sort of references. So the progressist blogger association is becoming a reference for leftist political point of view, and the feminist bloggers for like feminist point of view. So if you Google basic things about like feminism, you end up in our blog, like in our group blog. If you Google about Brazilian left and criticism to conservative media, whatever, you end up in the progressist bloggers. The reference is huge. So these people understand how the Google search works, They understand how Brazilian people use the internet, and we were able to make our content be seen. So this is a big thing. I mean, people are reading us, people are being influenced by us directly. I mean, this is in the big level. And in the small level, I can tell an anecdote, right? You guys have time? Do I have to?
Yeah.
I know I speak too much, but it's just that I think it's a nice thing to say, to be known. One day, I got an email from a reader in my blog. She was living in Amazonia, and she was living in a very remote place, but she had access to internet. And she said, "Hi Marilia, I am a reader of your blog. I've been reading your blog for the past months. It's really interesting. Thank you very much for sharing what you know and for creating questions, whatever. I'd like to tell you my story." And she started with her story. She said, "I was married too young. I got married when I was 14. I left school. I got pregnant, and I always thought that this is what there was for me in life and that I couldn't do anything else. But then I started reading your blog. And now I'm convincing my husband that I should go back to school. I want to get my high school degree, and I want to go to university to study either history or social sciences, because I want to understand why is the world so unfair to some people." So when I got this email, I was like, I can't say that I'm talking to myself, I definitely am not talking to myself. I made a difference. I made an impact, direct impact in a big person's life because she read me. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How can you say this is secondary to going to streets or protesting?
Yeah, I agree. On my second question, how can cyber activism amplify or escalate highlighting SRHR, especially here in Rio Plus 20?
This is a hard question. Well, I was thinking about this today because we're having such problems in the negotiations, right? And I'm kind of lost, to tell the truth. So I was kind of lost, like, what can I do, to influence the negotiations? I don't know who the negotiators are. I don't know the delegates from my country. They're not going to listen to me if I talk to them because they don't know me. I'm not like an important person, whatever. So what could I really do? How could I influence him? And then it got me like this idea, like I have a huge network contact, not only with other bloggers, but with readers and people that work in mass media and everything because of cyber activism. And this should be mobilized. And I know that many bloggers that are here, many Twitters that are here in Rio Plus 20, youth, people that are young, people that are concerned with sexual reproductive rights. I know they have resources, such resources. I know they have, contacts. They have huge networks in their countries or internationally. And I think this is our power. It's our personal networks. Like, if I write something, how many people can I get to read it? And if I write something and these people read it, how can I make it get to important people, or how can I make this get to the media so that the governments feel pressured to do this? So I think this is our main point. I mean, in social networks nowadays, things spread so fast and crazily, that if you can really mobilize your networks, call your friends' attention to the importance of this issue and get them to repost it, reblog it, retweet it, share on Facebook, I think we can make an impact. We can make pressure. Like the people from the government, they are also in these networks, and they have pages in these networks. They have Twitters, official in Brazil at least. They have official Twitters.
Yeah.
So this is something that so this is something that the Brazilians, at least I know, could be doing to make sure that the government is pressured on this topic. And I know the Brazilian government is not one of the governments against sexual reproductive health and rights in the document text, but they're also not being really vocal about it. So maybe if we use these networks, we can push them to be vocal about it. So, did I answer your question?
My last question. As cyber activists, how can we move forward from after?
What do you mean? Like in how we are acting?
Yeah, how we can act more after this?
Well, I think there's internet and cyber activism nowadays. They have one big barrier, whereas the way I see it, which is language. And this is what concerns me the most, I guess, because even though many countries speak English as a native language, but many countries don't, and in these countries that don't, even when they are highly internetable, like Brazil, many people use and have access to internet. We're one of the most online people in the world, according to latest research. But still, like most of people can only access content in Portuguese. Like they don't have, they have Spanish and English classes at school, but they're not good enough, so they don't really learn. Or sometimes they do learn, but they don't know how to read it well, so they can hear, but they can't read. Or they can't produce in that language. Many people, really great bloggers that I know, they understand English, they read English, but they just can't write in English. And they also don't have money to pay for translators so that their content is available, So maybe, I'm telling this because I think we should try to connect the bloggers and cyber activists from different countries and networks like Global Bloggers Network or whatever. I'm available to do it if you guys feel like it. Like with other people, of course, not by myself, please. But still, there would be a barrier of language. Like the Brazilians who participate, for example, would be the Brazilians who are fluent in English, which is like very few. So there should be like this group of translation or something like that, or we could use Google Translation, or we can research new technology about automatic translation and how to improve it, which is something I think would make it better, and easier than just getting people translating everything all the time, just put the machines to it. But I think there should be some kind of network. I think this is the most important because internet is so big and there's so many people in the world producing nice things, producing excellent material about various topics, and with great points of view. They really change the way you think once you know them, but sometimes they're not accessible because people use the internet in different ways. Like, I am a producer of content, so I use the internet to produce content, but I know that most people in Brazil are just users, they're just readers, they're just, and as they are readers, and if they're not too familiar with the big structures on the internet, they're not able to really find content that goes in an alternative point of view. Or so what happens is they end up visiting the websites of the same magazines they read printed. They end up visiting the websites of the same press groups that they see on TV, so they just reproduce what's outside, and they just see this little piece of internet here, this little piece of information, this little point of view, when in fact the internet is crowded with like billions others. And how do we get people to access that? This is the question I think we should try to answer as cyber activists. How do we get people to access that? I think a network would be a great way to start, so we could at least try to have ideas together, I don't know. Try to solve this thing, this barrier, try to overcome this challenge. I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you, Marilia.
No, thank you guys very much.